Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रीमात्रे नमः. So today, before we start, I want to let us talk a little bit about the entire structure of the of Soundarya Lahari. Verses number 1 to 41, we saw that he is basically talking at a cosmic level. Acharya is talking at a cosmic level. So he is talking about creation, he is talking about the power of Shakti, the union of Shiva and Shakti, the oneness of these two, and a very, very Advaitic interpretation that we took over there. Once we move from 40, we go on to the beauty of this entire universe, expressed through the form of the Devi. So he starts with the hair and then he goes down from the hair right up to the feet. Keshadi pada paryantam. Right? This is a varnan. Only in the case of Lalita, the varnan is always Keshadi padam.
What is it? What is it?
The varnan, the Devi varnan, is always Keshadi padam. In all other deities, it is Padadi Kesham. Why?
It's
Why?
as described in the Lalita Sahasranamam, where Udyatpanu Sahasrama. So when the Devi is described, it's only as if she rises out of.
Yes. See, when we first see her, she is rising from the Chidagni Kundam. So you see the hair first, then you see the kapala, then you see the eyes, then you see the face, and so on and so forth. And that is why that imagery is followed by Acharya. And once Acharya did it, it became a tradition. And therefore, whenever Devi is described, it is always Keshadipadam. Only with, all the other deities will be Padadi Kesham. Right? So that is one interesting thing. So again, in this also, from 41 to 80, nearly 40 verses, he goes around describing the form of the deity and he reaches the feet. Now, once he has reached the feet, he gets stuck there. Up to nearly 93 or 94, we will be only talking of the feet. We will only be talking of the feet. Now, there is another reason for that. Any idea? Why would we be talking only of the feet? Why does he get stuck with the feet?
I don't know. One story I remember you had mentioned about maybe it was some Peryava. I'm not really sure that, whether the Murti at a temple had a certain, whether it looked like this or
No,
it looked
not
like
a
this. So
Murti,
his
not a
answer
Murti.
was,
This was Narasimha Bharati, the Mahasannidhanam of Sringeri. Before the present one is Bharati Tirtha. His guru is Chandrasekhar Tirtha. His guru, Narasimha Bharati. Narasimha Bharati was believed to be a realized master who had attained divinity. So, two friends, one Smartha and the other Vaishnava. And they went to him and saying that now that you have seen the deity, you have seen the divinity, does he have Tripundram or Urdhva Tripundram? Urdhva Tripundram or Tripundram? So Narasimha Bharati very smilingly said, I have seen the feet. When I see the face, I will tell you. No, no, no. But yeah, that's a very nice and interesting story. But the reason as to why does Acharya get stuck on the feet? In Soundarya Lahari itself, there is an answer. And one of the verses he says, he is holding Pasha, Ankusha, Chapa, Bana. Pasha, Ankusha, Chapa, Bana. Right? She holds a nose, a gourd, an arrow, a set of arrows, Panchabana, and the sugarcane bow. And he says, unlike other deities who hold Abhayahasta or Varadahasta, she does not hold all of these because her feet are sufficient. Her feet are sufficient for us to attain whatever we want, and therefore we get stuck on the feet. So that is where we have to understand. See, so the early verses, we are talking about the cosmological, the metaphysical. Then he says, Keshadi Pada Varnanam. You have to remember this body is not physical. It is a mantrotpanna deha. Devi is nothing but the formulation of mantras, all the mantras in the world. That is what she is. And he also correlates that with the yantra symbolism, right? The 9 avarnas of the yantra and the bhupura and so on and so forth, and how they go towards the bindu. He uses that as that portion. From 84 onwards, he talks of the dust of the feet, the lotus feet, the radiance of the feet, the grace flowing from the feet, and so on and so forth. See, in Sri Vidya, the practice is a known sequence. You start with the knowledge of the divine. So for that, you need mantra, which is a process. You need a yantra, you need a tool, right? And you need a methodology of using so the mantra is the energy, the yantra is the tool, and you need a methodology of using the energy to apply it on the tool. Correct? Anything. Whether you have a fridge. If you have a fridge, right, then the fridge is the tool, the electricity is the energy. You need to know how to plug it in. You need to know how to set the temperature. That is mantra. So mantra, yantra, tantra together. So in those set of verses, we understand this entire knowledge of the divine. Then the next part, he takes us through dhyana and internal worship. Dhyana and even external worship. When we are worshipping through an image, when we are worshipping in the yantra, then we are seeing all those things that are happening over there. When we worship in the yantra, the 16 petals, there are the 16 nitya, right? The 16 deities, the tithi devata. We saw that in the Soundarya Lahari, we saw that in Lalita Sahasranamam also, the tithi devatas, right? With very, very fierce names, some of them. Vidravini, she who makes you cry. So things like that, names like that. All 16 of such deities are there, tithi devatas. Similarly, you will see the Ashtamatrikas. You will see Narasimhi, you will see Varahi, all of those. One by one, those are there in the yantra, and we penetrate through them to reach to the bindu, which is nothing but the cosmic unity of both Shakti and Shiva, consciousness in the material world. And then at stage 3 comes, once knowledge and visualization is complete, the Sri Vidya Upasaka gives into Sharanagati. And Sharanagati, where will it happen? Sharanagati is always at the feet. Sharanagati is not anywhere else. You cannot have Sharanagati on the face. Right? You cannot have Sharanagati in the ear. You do surrender means you fall at the feet. So that is where we are at right now. So from verse 84 onwards, the slight shift has happened. And the moment we have seen here in the earlier verses that she touches the forehead of Shiva, right? Vishakanti, we saw in that particular verse. So it is basically talking of the awakening of energy and the grounding of this energy through Shaktipat. descent of grace. It also represents the chakras. Chakra, the ascent of Kundalini through various chakras and the grace flowing down. All of this is coming in the verses from 84 onwards. So now let us go to the verses. Let us see verse number 87. Himani hantavyam himagiri nivasaikachaturo. Himani hantavyam himagiri nivasaikachaturo. Nishayam nidranam nishicarama bhage cha vishadau. Nishayam nidranam nishicarama bhage cha vishadau. Himani hantavyam himagiri nivasaikachaturo. Nishayam nidranam nishicarama bhage cha vishadau. Varam Lakshmi Patram Shriyamati Srijantau Samainam. Varam Lakshmi Patram Shriyamati Srijantau Samainam. Sarojam Tvatpadau Janani Jayatash Chitramihakim. Sarojam Tvatpadau Janani Jayatash Chitramihakim. Varam Lakshmi Patram Shriyamati Srijantau Samainam. Sarojam Tvatpadau Janani Jayatash Chitramihakim. Himani Hantavyam Himagiri Nivasaikachaturo. Nishayam Nidranam Nishicarama Bhage cha Vishadau. Varam Lakshmi Patram Shriyamati Srijantau Samayinam. Sarojam Tvatpadau Janani Jayatash Chitramihakim. Let us do a sort of word by word meaning. Not exactly in order, but I am going to take it in terms of meaning. Janani, she who does janakam, who does jananam, she who gives birth. So Janani, mother. Tvatpado, your 2 feet. Himani hantavyam. Hima means snow. Himani hantavyam, destroy. So Himani hantavyam, capable of destroying cold. Himagiri nivasaika chaturo, perfectly therefore suited to chaturo. Chatur here does not mean clever, it means expert. It's expert in doing what? Living in Himagiri nivasaika. Perfectly suited to dwell on the snowy mountains of Kailash. Nishayam nidranam, sleeping in the night. Nishi charama bhage vishado. Vishado means shining. Charama bhage, ending. Nishi means night. Becoming radiant at the last part of the night. We will go into the total meaning later on. Varam Lakshmi Patram. Varam, best. Lakshmi Patram, supreme vessel of Lakshmi. Lakshmi means what? Here, fortune, prosperity, abundance. Shriyam Atisrijanto, generating this supreme vessel. What does it generate? Srijanto, generate. Shriyam, prosperity, abundance. The Srijanto, Shriyam Ati, abundant prosperity. Samainam. Samainam, I will go into later on. Those who are practicing this Samaya tradition, those who are following the Samaya tradition. We have seen the words Samaya and Kaula in the earlier parts of the Soundarya lahari. Sarojam, lotus. Tvatpado, we have already seen, 2 feet. Jayata, are victorious. Chitra ihamkim. Chitram ihamkim. Chitram means wondrous. What is the wonder in this? What is there to be amazed of? It says, literally, what is the meaning? It says, oh mother, Hema, your 2 feet destroy the cold even though they are dwelling on the snowy mountain of Kailash. They sleep during the night, become radiant in the final part of the night. They are the supreme vessel of Lakshmi, and they generate immense prosperity upon the practitioners of the Samaya tradition. Your feet are like the lotus that grants such blessings. What wonder is there in their glory? Obviously, they are glorious. Now, let us look at the esoteric meanings in what he has said. What is this cold? What is the meaning of this cold? What could be the meaning of this cold?
Ignorance.
Ignorance normally is darkness. We have seen that, we will see that later in Nishi. The word Nishi. Cold. What happens? Okay, if the weather becomes cold, what do you do? Sorry?
You try to get warm.
No, you try to get
You
warm,
try to
but
become warm.
yeah, but how do you try to become warm? Do you
You
start jumping
huddle.
around?
You huddle.
You huddle. You
You
stop
huddle.
moving. You stop moving. You put a cover. You layer yourself. Tamasa. The cold is a representation of tamasa. Your feet are capable of destroying tamas. Himani hantavyam. Despite the fact that you are in this tamasic world, you are absolutely capable of living in this tamasic world, in this material world, which has tamas, rajas, sattva all mixed together. Despite that, your feet are that which are himani hantavyam. Beautiful, isn't it? Then he says further, so they are destroying the cold. They are destroying the inertia. They are destroying the spiritual numbness that we have. Her feet are the awakening power. The presence of the divine in the form of Sri Devi herself dissolves the spiritual inertia that we all suffer. Oh, I will start my sadhana on the next Paurnami. Then on Paurnami, you will have 2 guests come over. Then after the 2 guests have gone, you will say, okay, so next auspicious day is Ashtami. Oh, but then Ashtami now has come on a Saturday, but on Saturday I have to do Shani Puja also. Finished. Catch her feet today, right now, because they are Himani Hantavyam. They remove the inertia, they remove the spiritual inertia. Fall in love with her feet. Forget everything else, just her feet. Those 2 feet covered with alta, we have seen that, right? Beautiful feet covered with alta, beautifully describes in the earlier verses. Catch hold of them. That is what Acharya is saying here. Sleeping at night, next part. Sleeping at night, awakening at dawn. What is this? In yogic symbolism, night is always treated as avidya. The last part of the night. What is the last part of the night? What is the last part of the night?
Brahma
Yes, perfect. So what is Acharya saying? Wake up during Brahma Muhurta. Wake up. Brahma Muhurta is the time. Wake up. And do what? Catch her feet. Wake up at Brahma Muhurta. Very clearly he's saying. He's using beautiful words. He's saying, Nishayam Nidranam Nishicharam Bhage Vishadau. Start glowing. Because they are the feet that you are holding, they themselves are glowing. Then he moves on further. He says the lotus feet. Sarojam, he uses the word. Sarojam means lotus. Lotus is obviously, and right across all spiritual texts, you will find that the lotus has been described as that which arises out of mud, out of tamas, and attains sattva. And also remember that the feet, the lotus is the seat of Lakshmi. Right? In the Sri Suktam, we say Sarvojamamale, Padmasanasthite, etc., etc. We describe her. Padmini, Padmasanasthite, Padme. Right? We use all these words for Sri. So here, when he is using the word Sarvojam, he is talking of the prosperity. Now, once we have to understand, Sri, you see, has been, people say, oh, let me worship Sri Chakram, because Sri Chakram means I will get Sri. Now, what is Sri? Sri is not money, not that calendar image of Lakshmi sitting and 2 hands and gold coins falling from the hand and some pots of gold getting filled up. No, that is not Sri. Sri is actually Ashtalakshmi. It is courage to fight with everything that happens in this world, that is right or wrong. You have to fight with your principles. Veera Lakshmi. Attaining victory in that fight over your own tamas is Vijaya Lakshmi. Having enough to food, not only for yourself, but to be able to distribute, Dhanya Lakshmi. To be able to earn wealth so as to create wealth, not income. To be able to create wealth so that there is abundant prosperity around you is Dhana Lakshmi. To create a next generation who follows that same values is called Santana Lakshmi. Ashtalakshmi is not material. Ashtalakshmi is spiritual. That Shri comes from where? It comes from Shri Devi's feet. It comes from there. And therefore he uses the word Ati. He uses the word Ati. Ati means like lot. Now he says, this is for the practitioners of the Samaya tradition. Practitioners of the Samaya tradition. Now I have to go a little bit of a digression. What happens is, you see, in Sri Vidya, there are basically two different traditions. The first tradition is called the Samaya tradition, and the second tradition is called Kaula tradition. Kaula. Kaula, the word comes from Kula. Kaula, the word comes from Kula. Kula itself, Kula tradition also, has two parts. Purva Kula and Uttara Kula. Purva Kula and Uttara Kula. Both of them you have to understand. We will have to see that. So, now, if you look at what he is saying here, what is the basic difference? What is the Sri Vidya Samain? What does he do? Acharya himself was neither a Kauli nor a Samai. He was an Advaiti. However, he used both traditions. In Kaula, there is external worship. There is external worship. So there is a image, there is a yantra, there is a process, there is something called patra sadhana, where the vessels have to be placed in specific places. One is called Arghya Patram, one is called Tirtha Patram, etc., etc. These are all patrams which are placed in various places, and the process has to be followed meticulously using certain mantras and so on and so forth. The Samain, he does exactly that internally. Acharya places a lot of stress on the Samain rather than the Kaulin, because in Lalita Sahasranamam, there is one beautiful two words, one after another. Inside, outside. Anybody remembers? Inside, outside wala?
Antarmukha Samaradhya Bahirmukha Sudurlabha.
Antarmukha Samaradhya Bahirmukha Sudurlabha. He is difficult to attain if your attention is outward. He is easier to attain if your attention moves inward. But can you move it inward directly? No, you cannot. Very difficult. If I ask you to sit down and say, look at that yantra and see the 16 Nitya Devis dancing on the 16 lotus. Very difficult. Not easy. Right? On the yantra, there is the three lines of the Bhupura, then the three circles, then there is the 16 petal lotus. On the 16 petal lotus, there are the 16 fierce yoginis, the Nityas, the Tithi Devatas. Inside that, there is the 8 Devis, Ashtamatrikas. Inside that, there are 14. Then there are 10. Then there are another 10. Then there is 6. Then there is 3. Then there is finally 1. Now, each of these corners, each of these intersections, each of the triangles, they have a Devi sitting over there, along with a Rudra, along with a Bhairava, along with the Ayudhas. They have a full Parivara sitting in that corner. And now I'm going to ask you to imagine that. You can't. Why you cannot? Because you have not done it outside. So first, Acharya says, follow the Kaula tradition, and then take that and internalize it. And when you internalize it, then actual fruits start. That is when the prosperity begins. Not by doing, oh, I have been doing Chakra, Sri Chakra Puja for the last 14 years, but I have not become rich. Possible. Because you have not yet internalized it. It is only when that internalization happens that you will become rich. And rich does not here mean that you will have, you will start competing with Mr. Ambani. No, that is not richness. That is only one aspect of richness. There are multiple aspects of prosperity. Shri exists in everything. Your health, your brains, your children, the values that you follow, the values that your society follows, the values in which you can inculcate in others. All of this is Shri. So he moves on, and therefore he says, okay, now, sorry, I have to explain further. Then there are, I said, Kaula has two parts. So even when they are worshipping outside, the Kaulins, they have Purva Kaula and Uttara Kaula. Purva Kaula, Purva means east, Uttara means north. Right? And actually it means that. It also means, Purva means before, Uttara means after. Right? Now, Purva Kaulins predominantly existed in the Bengal, Assam areas. And they worship Devi as a union of Shiva and Shakti. Which is why in the eastern side of the traditions, you will find wherever there is a Devi temple, there will be a Shiva temple along with it. And Shiva will be installed over there as a Bhairava. Kali herself stands on Shiva. Tara stands on Shiva. Sits on Shiva. Right? But when you go to the Uttara, Kashmir Shaivism, Kashmir Shakta traditions, Devi is worshipped as a virgin over there. Todashi. It is the Kashmir tradition which went to the south. And there they blended both Uttara and Purva. And they said there are two. One, there is a virgin. And what do we call her?
Bala Tripura Sundari.
Correct. Bala. We call her Bala. So there is a virgin. And then there is a grown-up form who is married, who is Shiva and Shakti united, which is Lalita Tripura Sundari. So in the south, they merged the two. And they separated the two pujas, and they said Bala is the first level. You worship her, and then you move further, and then you worship Lalita. My Paramaguru, not on the Advaitic tradition, that is Swami Chinmayananda, my person who has given me the Srividya Upasana, she says that the Vedas and the Tantra are not different. So you worship Bala and that is enough. Why? Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnata Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That which is whole, that is whole, this is whole. If you take away a part from the whole, what is left is whole. Infinity. What can you separate from infinity? You think Bala is child's play just because she looks young and she's looking like a child and she likes to play with you? She is powerful enough to have destroyed the sons of Bhandasura with one glance. Bhandaputra Vadodhyukta, right? We see that in Lalita Sahasranam. And Bala, and the mother sees her and smiles and says, oh, you killed all of them. How did you do that? Oh, one glance, that was enough. One glance is enough. What is Bhandasur's children? Bhandasur's children is all the Shadripus that we have. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, etc., etc. What is Bhandasura? Bhandasura is ego. After the Shadripu have gone, who kills them? Lalita herself in the form of Bala. That is the Samaya in worship. You take it inside and you worship inside. You do not need a yantra in front. You do not need flowers. You do not need a panchapatram. You do not need water. Everything is happening inside. But for that practice to happen, it requires that Kaula practice to be done. That is the meaning over here. Right? Then we move. Sorry, any questions? So, okay, let us move on to verse number 88. Verse number 88. padam te kirtinam prapadavapadam devi vipadam. Padam te kirtinam prapadamapadam devi vipadam. Katham nitam siddhi. Katham nitam siddhi. Kathina kamathikar kamat kathina kamathikar varatulam. Kathina kamathikar varatulam. Katham nitam sadhi. Kathina kamathikar varatulam. Padam te kirtinam prapadamapadam devi vipadam. Katham nitam sadhi. Kathina kamathi karparatulam. Katham va bahubhyam upayamana kale purabhida. Katham va bahubhyam upayamana kale purabhida. Yadadaya nyastam rishadidaya mane manasa. Yadadaya nyastam rishadi dayamane manasa. Katham va bahubhyam upayamana kale purabhida. Payadadayanyastam rishadi dayamane manasa. Full verse. Padam te kirtinam prapadamapadam devim devi vipadam. Katham nitam sadbhi kathina kamathi karparatulam. Katham va bahubhyam upayamana kale purabhida. Yadadayanyastam rishadidayamane manasa. Let us do the word meanings. So when we do the word meanings, again, I am not following the text directly. I am giving you the meanings so that the logical flow will be there. Devi, O goddess. Te padam, your foot. Now here, he's not talking of the 2 feet. But padam would mean 2 feet, one foot. Te padam. Kirtinam prapadam. Kirtinam. Kirti means fame, glory. Prapadam, source. They are the source of all fame and glory. Vipadam, apadam. The remover of misfortunes. Santbihi. Bhi means those who have the wisdom. Santbihi. Those who are very wise. Those who are very wise, by those people. Kathina, hard. Kamathi, tortoise. Karpara, shell. Tulam, compared to the hard shell of a tortoise. Katham nitam. How was it brought to such comparison? Purabhida. Pura here means Tripura. To Bhida means he who destroys. Purabhida. Tripurabhida. He who destroys the cities. Right? Here obviously means the Tripura. So Shiva. Upayamana kale. Upayamana is marriage. Time of marriage. Upayamana kale. Bahubhyam adaya. Bahubhyam adaya. Taking them in his hands. Taking in his hands. Dayamanena manasa. With a compassionate mind. Rishadi nyastam. Drishadi nyastam. Placed on a stone. So literal meaning. Your foot is the source of all fame and glory. It is the remover of all misfortune. Some wise people have compared it to the hard shell of a tortoise. Now, who is he talking of? Who is he talking of? Who are the wise people who have compared it with the shell? If you remember the description of her calf, in Lalita Sahasranama, it says Kurma Prishtha. Correct? Kurma Prishtha Janudvaya. Correct? Who describes it? She herself is describing herself as a Kurma Prishtha Janudvaya. So Acharya is playing the fool with pulling the leg of Devi by saying some wise people have described the foot as like a tortoise. Now remember, Lalita Sahasranam, who created? Devi herself created. In that, she herself has described the shape of her calves like the shape of a tortoise, the back of a tortoise. So he's very nicely, he has pulled the leg of Devi, saying some wise people are comparing it with the hard shell of a tortoise. And how could Shiva, destroyer of Tripura himself, at the time of marriage, take that tender foot in his hands and place it upon the stone with a compassionate heart? Now, there is a very interesting marriage ritual, which has somewhere in the north, they have forgotten it. It is still done in the south. At the time of marriage, after the marriage is over, Pani Grahanam is over, then the woman, the husband, takes the foot and places it on a stone. The stone, normally they bring the grinding stone and they keep it.
And sahan.
हाँ, जो भी उसको क्या बोलते हैं,
चंदन का this thing is ground.
So depending on different traditions, different things. In some places it can only be a brick also. But basically in Tamil marriages जो वो होता है ना सिलबट्टा, तो वो सील को लेके आते हैं, not the batta but the seal. So the seal is brought, or the chandan का घिसने का पत्थर. Basically a hard, stable thing. What is it indicating? It is indicating stability. I will make you stable. That is the ritual. I will make sure that as you step into my house, I will make sure that you will rest in stable places. That is the meaning, right? But her foot is so tender that you place it on a hard surface, it may hurt her. So Shiva has to have very compassionate heart to be able to place it, and he has to place it very gently. He cannot press it hard. Right? See, I sometimes wonder, Acharya must have been physically there to be able to describe this with so much detail. So he's saying here that the groom, when he's symbolizing the firmness, the endurance, the stability in marriage, he's saying, how could such delicate feet touch such a hard stone? The stone which is compared to the back of a tortoise. Now remember, the symbolic meanings we have to understand this. In classical poetry, tortoise shell always represents hardness. And the feet are infinitely delicate. What does that delicate mean? It means compassion. Not physical indelicacy. She who is blowing that, she who can hold the Trishula of Shiva and the Chakra of Vishnu and ride on a lion, her feet are not physically delicate, but her feet are showering compassion. That compassion which is being showered, that is that delicacy of the feet that he is talking about. And Shiva's compassion is the intimate love between Shiva and Shakti. Remember, in the earlier verses, we have seen Devi kicking Shiva on the forehead, right? We have seen that. Devi touched his forehead, to open up the third eye and remove the thorn of pain that was there from the time when Kamadev was destroyed. Just the earlier verse. Varshakanti, we saw that verse. In that verse itself, very clearly, we have seen Devi touching her feet to her husband. Now, he is taking the feet and placing it on the heart shell. The heart shell also indicates this world. It is only with consciousness, Shiva, that Shakti, and together, what do? They play in this universe. You see, the feet are the joining point of divinity and material world. And that is why in one of the Sri Vidya traditions, there are multiple Sri Vidya traditions, incidentally. Each Guru Parampara has their own tradition. One of the Sri Vidya traditions, it says, the Sri Chakra was never created. It was made manifest when Devi's big toe touched Bhumi. Automatically, from that point, the entire Sri Chakra manifested. Now, that's a very good imagery. True, false, we don't need to go there. It's a very good imagery because it is her feet from which we climb up. And it is from her feet that she interacts with this world. So the feet are the contact point. And how do that feet contact and work? Through consciousness, which is what? Shiva. So Shiva alone himself is the only person who can actually place that stone, which is the world of matter, and place the feet of Devi onto this material reality. Divine consciousness enters into material reality. It is only when that divine consciousness enters into material reality that the play can begin. See, the moment this consciousness leaves this body, mind, intellect composite, the moment that thing goes away, next moment, you will not even wait for 1 second. You will say, put the body on the floor. You're not going to say, put Samir on the floor. You're going to say, put the body on the floor. What is there for the identification? Consciousness alone. Till that point, this body is jada. Chetana vihinam. It is material, but it is not material energy. So that material energy, it enters through the feet. Another interpretation that we can also look at is that, and we have seen this again and again, is that we need to move our energy upward from the Mooladhara Chakra to the Sahasrara. Soundarya Lahari, earlier also we have seen the chakras. In Lalita Sahasranamam, we have seen the chakras under Devis. Akini, Lakini, Yakini, Sakini, Rakini, all these Devis we have seen. They are beautifully described. How many faces, what color, what ayudhas do they hold? What is the petal, number of petals, what flavor of food do they want to eat? All of that is there in the series near around 400, between 500 and onwards. Around the middle, you have all the descriptions of all the 6 chakras with all the Devis. And then finally the 7th chakra also. Sarvodana Prita Chitta. She eats all types of food because she is conscious everywhere. Conscious, all-round consciousness at the Sahasrara. Right? Sarvayudha Parishkrita. She holds all types of weapons, which means she interacts in this entire world through every being. That level of consciousness, where does it start from? From the Mooladhara. Where is the Mooladhara? That back of the tortoise. That stone from which the growth will begin. That is the meaning of this particular verse. So, when we see this whole set of 87, 88, we are seeing that there is a movement of divine grace downward and a spiritual awakening that is happening upward. Meeting where? At her feet. At her feet. I will, on the group, I will send you a beautiful picture that I have of the 2 feet. And it's a very beautiful picture. Don't save it. I don't like people getting stuck with images. Look at it, imagine it, internalize it, and use it for your meditation. When you are meditating on her with her form, forget her face, forget her. Acharya is very clear. Where do you need to get stuck? At her feet. Forget everything else. So that's any questions on verse number 88? Otherwise, we will go into the last one. My friend Aditi has joined this from today. So Aditi, just to bring you up to speed, along with Soundarya Lahari, we have been doing one more shloka, one more set of one more stotra. We have done, for example, the Argala stotra, we have done the Kilaka stotra, we have done the Kavacham, so on and so forth. And this is all preparatory because once Soundarya Lahari finishes, I want to start off with Devit Mahatmyam also. But we also add on various shlokas. Sita Raghuji, who is my friend and Sahayatri for the Panchabhuta Linga Yatra, and she lives in Coimbatore. And I'm assuming you are coming to Veliyangiri also. You are climbing up with us. Okay, good. So So Sita ji asked for studying Yoga Meenakshi Stotram. We have almost reached the end of that also. It is the 14th verse which we are going to study today. So the 14th verse of Yoga Meenakshi. Let us do the shloka. Lasadvada shantendu piyusha dhara vritam. Lasadvada shantendu piyusha dhara vritam. Murti mananda magnantarang. Murti mananda ananda magnantarangam. Murti mananda magnantarangam. Lasadvada shantendu piyusha dhara vritam. Murti mananda magnantarangam. Param tristanim tam chatushkuta madhye. Param tristanim tam chatushkuta madhye. Parandhama rupam bhaje pandya balam. Parandhama rupam bhaje pandya balam. Very, very interesting. Lasat Chantendu Piyusha Dhara Vritam. Piyusha means nectar. Piyusha means Amrita. Lasat is shining. Chantendu, peaceful, like the moonlight. Remember always, moonlight is always peaceful. Sunlight can be scorching. Sunlight in the morning is okay, right? In the early morning, even in the early morning, you cannot look at it very long. And if that early morning sun starts glowing like Devi, then it will be Sahasra Aruna Koti Sahasrabha. So then even the rising sun can be very hurtful. But the moon is never hurtful. So therefore, Shantendu. So this dhara is flowing peacefully. Lasat Vada Shantendu Piyusha Dhara Vritam. When does the dhara of nectar flow very beautifully? When you have attained that oneness with her, then she who is in the form of Amrita. What is Amrita? Amrita is that which gives you immortality. Right? So all the asuras, they go and say, give me immortality. And Brahma says, sorry, won't give you. Why can't he give immortality? Why cannot Brahma give immortality? चलो try करो. Okay, can you, Lalita ji, can you give me about 40 kilos of gold?
Guruji, you should ask, will you? Not can you.
No, I'm asking, can you? You cannot because you don't have.
I wasn't able to open the unmute. That is, yeah. I think if I get 40, why not? But we must get that much now.
Very good. Brahma himself is not immortal. How can he give immortality?
Correct. Yes.
So you cannot give what you do not have. But he does not say that.
Exactly.
He does not tell the Asura that. Because if he tells that, then his personal position will go. Credibility loss. So what does he do? He says, no. Rule of nature. I cannot give you. What is the meaning of immortality? Immortality means understanding. Yete vidura smritaste bhavanti. Yoga, the Upanishad says, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. They who know this become immortal. Immortal means they who know what? This meaning this. This is not the body. This is not the mind. This is not the intellect. This is this. Tat. Until that is known, we are going to be mortal. And the moment that is known, you have become immortal. There is no gray area. The moment you have merged with her, you are in a continual state of immortality. You know that nothing that will happening in this body is of permanent nature. I alone am permanent. Lasatva Shantendu Piyusha Dhara Vritam. And therefore, My mind is completely engrossed into her. And what does it do? Your Murti, Ananda Magnantarangam. It gives me immense joy. She whose image gives me that joy. Murti, Anandam, Magna. My mind absorbed in that. Parandhama Rupam. So, Param means the ultimate. Tristhanim, Tristhanim. She who has three breasts, who is situated in a four-angled figure, four-sided figure. What does this mean? What is the meaning here? So you have to go back to the legend of Meenakshi. Where was Meenakshi born? In Madurai. How was she born? The Pandya Raja, he did a Havan. When he did a Havan, how many sides will the Havan have?
4.
And she manifested. She was never born out of human child. Another thing, if you remember, all the devatas, when they take avatar, they are born through Garbha. Devi cannot be born out of Garbha because she is the Garbha. Sita, Draupadi, none of them.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Rukmini is not Devi, incidentally. Rukmini is not Lakshmi. Draupadi is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is born out of fire. So, and generally she is born out of fire. Or she is born out of the earth. Both of her are her manifestations. Devi Suktam Tam Agnivarnam Tapasa Jalantim Vairochinim Karmaphaleshu Jushtaam. She is born out of fire. So Meenakshi was born out of fire in that yajna. And she was born with 3 breasts. So the father suddenly says, now what do I do with this girl? What can I do? He says, don't worry. That is an indication when she meets her consort, the 3rd breast will vanish.
Yes.
Tristanim. Tristanim. Right? So it says Tristanim and then says Chatushkuta Madhye in a figure of 4 lines. Parandhama Rupam, she who is the ultimate goal for all of us. Ajay Pandya Balam. She is this daughter of Pandyas.
What is the significance of this Leela? It's a Leela.
It's a Leela. It's a Leela. Because Shiva was also not going to manifest very easily, no? So, instead of therefore trying to find somebody who is going to get married to him, it is better to leave it. The husband will himself come and claim other than that. Otherwise, he would have gone around like an ordinary child, like what they did with Draupadi. They would have made a public spectacle out of that entire marriage business. So both with Draupadi and with Sita, their marriages became public spectacles because there was no abnormality in them. But if you look at Meenakshi, she was abnormal. She had 3 breasts. So only somebody who is abnormal can marry her. Somebody who has 3 eyes. Normal people have 2 eyes. Somebody who has 3 eyes is abnormal. So only abnormal can marry abnormal. No, that is the Leela. Right? Good. Any questions? Otherwise, we can close for the day. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.